It was just before 1 a.m. when everything went down. We spoke with several neighbors. They say last night they heard about 60 shots. And if you take a look at this White House here that's directly across from the yellow one, they actually had fire go all the way through, one in the front end of their home to the back end of their home.
That big yellow house, just the other side of the Crime Watch sign, is a short-term rental.
Not something that you'd expect, and it's kind of got us all a little bit rattled.
Cars rushed 40th and Central, 40th and Park. There was probably over 100 people in here when the rang off.
Any officer that's coming up here, clear all these juveniles out of the crime scene right now.
Just screaming from every which way. I thought I was in the Wild Wild West or either the war. It was an unfortunate situation.
Britney Grundy, a 38-year-old mother from Indianapolis, spent all of Saturday celebrating her daughter's prom. But before the sun came up the next day, she was shot dead. On May 3, 2026, gunmen opened fire on a post-prom house party in the north side of Indianapolis, while more than 100 people, most of them teenagers, were inside. And here's what makes this even harder to sit with. Hours before those shots went off, somebody posted something to social media that told everybody exactly what was coming. To really understand what happened that night, you need to understand who Britney Grundy was, because she did not just happen to be at that party by accident. She was there because she was the kind of mother who showed up for everything.
What's up, ho?
Cause you do too much.
Worse than y'all.
Keep punching me for real.
Get out of me, ho. And I just cracked my nail.
Go get some.
Her legal name was Britney Marie Members, but everyone in her community knew her as Britney Grundy, which is the name she used on social media and the name her friends and family called her. She was 38 years old and lived on the near north side of Indianapolis, the same neighborhood where the shooting would later happen. By all accounts, she was deeply involved in her children's lives, always present and showing up. People who knew her described her as warm and kind, someone who genuinely cared about the people around her and treated everyone with respect. Community tributes after her death mentioned things like her laughter, her willingness to help, and the way she made people feel like they mattered. One person who knew her mentioned that she had worked as a caregiver, looking after elderly people. She spent her life taking care of others. So on the afternoon of Saturday, May 2nd, 2026, she did what she always did. She organized a full family send-off at her home to celebrate her daughter going to prom. The family started gathering by 5:30 in the evening. By around 7, her daughter was dressed and ready, and Britney was right there with her, taking pictures and making sure the moment was as big as it deserved to be. The whole thing was captured on video and posted online. One caption shared widely after her death described that afternoon simply, saying Britney spent the day sending her daughter off to prom with love, food, and a house full of people. That was the last good part of the day. The after-prom party itself was not at Britney's house. It was held at a large 2-story yellow house in the 4000 block of North Park Avenue near 40th Street and North College Avenue on the near north side of the city. The property was being used as a short-term rental, the kind you book online for a weekend through platforms like Airbnb, and prom balloons and signs had been set up in the driveway to mark the occasion. Britney was there as a parent. Now, here's where things start to fall apart even before a single shot is fired. The house was owned by a company out of Fort Wayne called For Life Investments, Inc. The owner did not live in Indianapolis and was not there that night, and critically, the property had not been registered with the city's short-term rental program, which Indianapolis law requires for any property rented out this way. The owner later told officials they didn't even know the registration requirement existed, and the house had apparently been operating as an unregistered rental since at least early 2025. So what you had was an absentee owner, a house with no city oversight, and a gathering that kept growing and growing through the night with no supervision in place to manage it. Neighbors on the block noticed. Cars were double parked up and down the street as more and more people kept showing up. One neighbor named Brandy Mitchell watched the crowd build from her window and told reporters, but as the night progressed, there were more and more people showing up, and we were getting a little agitated because it's a lot of people, and when there's a lot of people and didn't look like a lot of supervision after those hours, it could get a little scary. But the most alarming thing that happened that evening didn't even make the news right away. Hours before any shots were fired, somebody at the party posted a photo to social media showing multiple people standing in the driveway in front of the prom decorations, holding up multiple weapons, including 2 large semi-automatic rifles with extended banana clip magazines alongside handguns. By the time 1 in the morning rolled around on Sunday, May 3, 2026, the party on North Park Avenue was still going full energy. IMPD dispatch audio would later capture a caller describing the scene inside. There were probably over 100 people in the house when the shots rang off. Teenagers and young people packed in together, prom decorations still up in the driveway, music probably still going, and then it all fell apart at once. Police have described the cause as some type of fight or a disturbance that broke out among people at the party, though they haven't released the specific details of what triggered it. What they do know is that a vehicle, described by neighbors as a white hatchback or an SUV, came down North Park Avenue and opened fire on the house. This was not a quick drive-by and done. Neighbors described hearing between 30 and 60 or more shots coming in rapid bursts that sounded automatic, so intense that some people initially thought it was something other than gunfire. And when police eventually processed the scene, they recovered approximately 80 shell casings. 80 shell casings. That number alone tells you how serious this was.
That big yellow house, just the other side of the Crime Watch sign, is a short-term rental where a woman was shot to death early this morning.
Not something that you'd expect, and it's kind of got us all a little bit rattled.
It was more than just nerves that were rattled at 40th and College Avenue just before 1 a.m. It was windows, too, punctured by bullets.
There's one round of gunshots, really rapid fire, automatic, and then it might have been 2 or 3 minutes later there was another one. So yeah, clearly a lot of rounds were fired last night.
Cars rushed 40th and Central, 40th and Park. There was probably over 100 people in here when the rang off.
Any officer that's coming up here, clear all these juveniles out of the crime scene right now.
12 hours later, the decorations for the after-prom party at the short-term rental were still in place, in the same driveway where a photograph was taken of someone with attending the festivities just a couple hours earlier.
My wife showed me a picture of folks out in front of this very distinctive yellow house, and they had holding up automatic firearms and hand. So yeah, they were at the house.
Police collected at least 80 shell casings from the first round of shots fired at the front door of the house and the second round at the partygoers who rushed outside.
Then I saw the car backing up the street with the lights off, and I didn't know what was going on there. It seemed a little suspicious, and so I just was watching, and then all of a sudden they started slowly creeping that way. It's like they were waiting for folks to come outside to go back out again. But at least for me, it sounded like they were and then people from the house were back at them.
It just, bad judgment, sucks. Like no other way to put it.
The search goes on for the on the north side. Russ McQuaid, Fox 59 News.
The shooting didn't happen in one single go either. One of the neighbors who watched from their window described the whole sequence to reporters. They said they heard the first round of gunfire and went to the window, and they saw the white hatchback come down the street and then slowly reverse back up the block with its lights off. Then it came forward again. They could hear shots going in both directions, meaning people inside or around the house were shooting back. They told reporters it was like they were waiting for folks to come outside to go back out again, At least for me, it sounded like they were shooting, and then people from the house were shooting back at them. So those weapons that were photographed in the driveway earlier that night, the semi-automatic rifles and the handguns posed with in front of the prom balloons, were apparently still at the party when the shooting started, and apparently used in the return fire. Another neighbor named Zach Thames described the sound of it in a way that's hard to shake. He told reporters that there were so many shots going off so fast that he didn't register it as gunfire, and then the screaming started, and then a second and possibly a third round of shots followed, with people ducking behind parked cars and sprinting through the alley behind the houses. He described the screams as frantic. Another neighbor named Jack Anderson was woken just after 1 in the morning and went to his front porch where he saw teenagers running away from the yellow house in every direction. He told reporters he could feel the vibrations of the gunfire from 3 houses away and that he counted more than 60 shots before it stopped. And it wasn't just the yellow house that took damage. A bullet crossed the entire street and entered the home of a neighbor named Salome Mitchell directly opposite the party house, going through the front window.
The bullet passed through the couch where his son usually sat, then through a wall and stopped near the back door. His son had been sitting on that couch earlier. Mitchell had sent him upstairs to bed roughly 45 minutes before the shooting started. He called it a miracle and said that it could just as easily have been his son sitting there when that bullet came through.
We start tonight with new details about a deadly at a post-prom party. IMPD says it happened at a short-term rental filled with teenagers. The gunfire overnight killed a woman and injured 3 other people at a home on Park Avenue and 40th Street on Indy's near North Side. Our Ella Rhodes talked with neighbors hours after the shots rang out, and we do want to warn you, the video and audio of the aftermath captured on camera are disturbing.
Jack Anderson took this video from his front porch just after 1 a.m. as he saw teens running for safety from this yellow house, where police say people hosted an after-prom party in the short-term rental.
3 houses down, I mean, we could almost feel the vibration. It was probably 60 plus that came through, and it was absolute chaos.
Minutes earlier, Anderson's neighbor caught this on a Ring camera. Fire ringing through the night, a neighborhood now shell-shocked from violence they don't usually see.
This is a great neighborhood. There's great families. I was telling my wife, this is a one-off.
The house still decorated from the night before. Across the street, Salome Mitchell shows us where a stray bullet went through his front window, the couch where his son always sits, a wall, and stopped at his back door.
He falls asleep right next to the chair that the bullet came through, and God be the glory, I would say about 45 minutes or an hour before it happened, I just tapped him on the head and tell him wake up and go upstairs and go to sleep. Grace of God, that's all it is, the grace of God. And, it could have been him.
Mitchell heard the scene unfold.
Just screaming from every which way. I thought I was in the Wild Wild West or either the war. It was an unfortunate situation.
He says the rental didn't cause any issues until last night.
When I seen so many kids and so many cars lining up, I just knew I had a gut feeling this was the one. Something was going to be not right.
A woman now and 3 others injured.
I just think it's senseless, and we just have to do better as human beings.
A quiet family neighborhood trying to make sense of it all. In Indianapolis, Ella Rhodes, 13 News.
Tonight, we are also hearing from the Meridian Kessler Neighborhood Association president about this. She calls it disturbing and condemns the violence.
This has an incredible chilling effect on all the surrounding neighbors who experienced this last night. And there were neighbors who had bullets going through their rooms, their bedrooms surrounding. So we're grateful that no one else was injured, but this should never happen.
She also tells us she's encouraging neighbors to share any video footage of this incident with IMPD. She also tells us they've set up a community meeting about the violence. It's with IMPD and City County Councilor John Barth next Wednesday evening at Womack Church. Again, anyone with information about the reach out to IMPD's homicide office at 317-327-3475.
When IMPD officers arrived, they found Britney at the scene with gunshot wounds and got her to a hospital, but she did not survive. Two other people, both described as male, had made their own way to IU Health Methodist Hospital before police even arrived at the scene, one in critical condition and one in stable condition. A fourth person had been hurt while trying to escape the house. When the dust settled, one woman dead, 3 others injured, and approximately 80 shell casings from multiple different firearms left behind on a block that neighbors described as normally the quietest street in the neighborhood. The dispatch audio from that night says it all. Officers were being told to clear all the juveniles out of the area while first responders were simultaneously working a crime scene covered in both shell casings and prom decorations. The morning after, one of the neighbors was outside washing Britney's blood off the sidewalk. After the shooting, the Marion County Coroner's Office officially confirmed that the victim was Britney Marie Members, 38 years old, and that she died from gunshot wounds. IMPD classified the case as a homicide and assigned it to their homicide unit, with Detective Christopher Winter leading the investigation. As of May 2026, no arrests had been made and no suspects had been publicly named. The department described it publicly as an isolated incident, but they also said something that tells you they do not believe it was random. They are actively bracing for possible retaliation. When police are preparing for retaliation, that means they believe there is an ongoing conflict behind what happened, even if they are not saying it out loud yet. In terms of physical evidence, what investigators had to work with was substantial even in the early hours. Approximately 80 shell casings from multiple different firearms were recovered from the scene, which confirmed the multi-volley exchange and told investigators they were dealing with more than one weapon in action. The social media photo posted hours before the shooting showing party attendees with 4 firearms in the driveway is a significant piece of the picture, since it establishes that weapons were already at the location before the attack. Neighborhood security camera footage, including footage from Ring cameras on nearby homes, captured a white vehicle driving down the street, followed immediately by gunfire, then reversing back up the block and coming back through again for at least one more round. That footage is likely a key piece of what investigators are working from as they try to identify the vehicle and whoever was in it.
Whenever there's a shooting involving teenagers, the question is invariably asked, where were the parents? Well, Hollis Members tells me that his daughter, Britney Members, was standing right there at the front door of that short-term rental at the corner of 40th and Park. Britney Members was hosting her daughter's after-prom party for her friends from Crispus Attucks High School Sunday morning when 2 people with and wearing masks knocked on the door.
I was told that somebody came to their door and they had ski masks on and they tried to get in and she said, "You can't go in there, we don't know you and you can't come in." He said, "So we can't come in," and fired a point blank to my baby's head. Everyone's carrying McQuaid, you know. There's no doubt about that. No one's coming forward with any information to help them solve the crime. They can only go by the evidence they have, you know. But if someone comes forward and say, look, you know, this person did this and this person did that, you know, this would be a better city.
The owner of the big yellow house never registered with the city as a short-term rental and has been put on notice that it has 30 days to do so before enforcement kicks in. Neighbors with bullet holes in their windows knew trouble was brewing.
When there's a lot of people and didn't look like a lot of supervision after those hours, it could get a little scary.
We've faced this situation the last few years with our short-term rentals being a problem location.
So you're going to hear us say those same things over and over again. Parents, we need you to get involved.
Britney Members was involved, and it cost her life.
Now let us talk about the bigger picture here, because what happened to Britney is also part of a pattern that Indianapolis has been watching grow for over a year. This was not the first time a large youth party at an unregistered short-term rental on the north side ended in gunfire.
In January 2025, IMPD responded to a Verbo-style rental on Spruce Street in the Fountain Square neighborhood, where a party of teenagers and young people turned into a shooting scene. Officers seized between 9 and 12 handguns, found drugs, and detained 16 people. Nobody died that time, but the pattern was exactly the same: an unregistered rental, a large, unsupervised crowd of young people, and guns already in the building. Then, in August 2025, 17-year-old Xavier Whitlow was shot and killed at a social event at another North Side property operating as an unregistered short-term rental. Same part of the city, same situation. IMPD had actually been saying out loud that these short-term rental parties were becoming a growing trend, and that they were consistently ending in the same way, with large crowds, no oversight, guns present, and violence. They said it. They documented it, and somehow the registration enforcement still was not keeping up with the problem.
Family of a 17-year-old boy grieving this morning after he was shot and killed at a party at an apartment complex on the near north side of Indianapolis.
Fox 59's Hannah Fulman joins us live at IMPD headquarters with reaction from the boy's family. Hannah, good morning.
Good morning, Angela and Daniel. Neighbors tell us that that apartment where the teen was actually rented out for a 19-year-old's birthday party, and Xavier went to that party even though his friends told him not to go because he was having an Instagram feud with another person.
This guy that did this to him, he believed that whatever beef they had going, that they had squashed it, but evidently the guy hadn't squashed it.
IMPD tells us they were called to this apartment complex you see on your screen now, the Grounds Apartments on North Central Avenue, around 2:30 Sunday morning. The first time they showed up, they couldn't find evidence of a shooting. They were then called back a second time and soon discovered a teen lying dead on the 4th floor. The victim was identified as 17-year-old Xavier Whitlow. Witnesses told his grandmother, who you just heard from, that Whitlow ran into somebody at that party who had beef with him. She tells us all his friends told him not to go to the party because they knew he would be there. We're told witnesses shared the nickname of his alleged with the family, which has since been passed along to homicide detectives. Neighbors tell us they've complained to management for months about short-term rentals where parties like this one have been going on, but they say nothing has changed. Our Russ McQuaid spoke with some of those residents yesterday, hearing out the concerns.
The police have been out here numerous times, again, for Airbnb parties. We had a very candid conversation, essentially me saying it's not a matter of if it happens, it's just a matter of when.
We reached out to the apartment complex, but they did not get back with us yet. We also did take a look at the city's short-term rental registry, and it does not list either of the addresses that neighbors talked about on that registry. Of course, we'll keep you updated as we continue to learn more about this that unfolded over the weekend. For now, reporting live downtown, Hannah Fulman, Fox 59 News.
And this is not even limited to Indianapolis. The day after Britney was killed, on May 4th, 2026, another after-prom party at a short-term rental in Liberty Township, Ohio, fired on by a vehicle that sent approximately 12 shots into the crowd as teenagers were leaving. Nobody was hit by a bullet that time, but people were running in every direction. Pepper spray was deployed, and neighbors described the scene as looking like a war zone. That property also had a history of noise complaints and prior large gatherings that nobody had done anything about.
Chaos breaking out after a prom party in Liberty Township.
And now we're hearing from neighbors who say the situation was totally avoidable.
Brittany Harry has a story you'll only see right here on Fox 19 Now.
So we are on Granada Court right now in Liberty Township. This is a very quiet neighborhood, typically very family friendly. It was anything but quiet this weekend, though, when neighbors say they heard the ring out during an after prom party. It happened at this home here behind me that is a short-term rental that neighbors say they've been raising some ongoing concerns about.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd build my forever home and have it 2 houses away.
Chaos just after midnight Sunday in a Liberty Township neighborhood when rang out. Prior to the neighbors say they called the Butler County Sheriff's Office raising concerns about noise at the short-term rental. The Sheriff's Office responded but says there was a little alcohol and the crowd was told to keep the noise down. When deputies left, neighbors say that crowd got larger and noisier about 40 minutes later, as when neighbors say those rang out.
things started getting really loud out front. And right around 10 after 12 is when the shots happened, where everybody here called 911. At first I heard probably 4 or 5, and then there was a short break, and then probably 4 or 5 more further up the street in the neighborhood.
A bullet hole now in the window. Videos show multiple vehicles and people scattering after the shots were fired. Residents say some of the partygoers were seeking safety on nearby properties, leaving shoes, alcohol containers, and other belongings behind. The sheriff's office was seen back at the property on Monday collecting evidence. Residents say they are tired of the problems the short-term rental sometimes causes.
I don't know what to think. You know, we all have kids. There's probably 20 kids under the age of 15 here. I got a 7-year-old little girl. Like, it's hard.
Nearby resident Ryan Haddix says he heard some of the commotion too. He says his son told him the prom party was widely known amongst students.
So my son's actually a senior at Lakota East, and there was a party that was well known throughout the Lakota East student body, I guess you would say. And then, you know, all that at that exact party, yeah.
As for the short-term rentals in Liberty Township, trustee Tom Farrell tells Fox 19, quote, Liberty Township has addressed the short-term rental issue, and the board unanimously voted to prohibit them. There is a defined enforcement process we are required to follow, and this property clearly has chosen not to comply. Now, no one was hurt in this, according to the sheriff's office. I did call the host of the rental today to see if he was aware of why the home was being rented out this weekend, and just wanted to talk to him about the situation. He said that he doesn't have any comment at this time. Now, this home is still listed as active, as being able to rent out at the moment. I reached out to the sheriff's office today because they were back out here trying to see what they collected, kind of where the investigation stands. They told me that they cannot comment on the investigation at this point. Meanwhile, residents say that they have plans to continue speaking up about these concerns. For now, I'm reporting in Liberty Township, Britney Harry, Fox News.
The city of Indianapolis did move after Britney's shooting. Officials sent a formal compliance notice to 4Life Investments, Inc., the company that owned the North Park Avenue property, requiring them to register with the city's short-term rental program. The owner cooperated, and neighbors organized a community meeting at Womack Memorial CME Church on May 6, 2026, to sit down with IMPD and the city and figure out what happens next. But a compliance notice and a community meeting do not bring Britney back. Her family set up a GoFundMe called Honoring Britney Members' Memory, organized by Hollis members believed to be her father, describing her as a cherished daughter, friend, and loved one. The fundraiser had already raised over $5,600 from 47 donors within the first 2 days of going live. Across social media, people who knew Britney and people who never met her shared those prom photos from Saturday afternoon alongside their grief. And one post on Threads captured everything about this situation in a single sentence. As a parent, all you want to do is send your kids off to prom. She got a chance to watch those moments in her life, but it was tragically cut short right after. R.I.P. Britney Grundy. She spent her whole last day doing what she had always done, being there for her child, and that same night, it cost her everything.
Turn that shit back on. Turn that stuff back on.
What do you think about this horrifying case? Drop your thoughts in the comments and click on one of the cards to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.